Hey guys, sup? Master Phoenix here, bringing you guys some more Magic the Gathering online content. Today, going to be profiling my Athreos God of Passage deck for you all that I have just finished recording a game of that I actually ended up winning because of a concession of my opponent, and it is called Father to the Slaughter. As with all of my deck techs, you can expect a full breakdown of every card inside of it, as well as some of the more interesting combos in the deck. I will highlight the most important cards in the deck, as well as a few different synergies and combos the deck itself has, as well as just generally go over the cards and give you my thoughts of them, what cards I may or may not consider taking out or putting in, and just in general, my overall thoughts about the deck. First off, a note that this deck is absolutely 100% positively weaker in sheer power level than my lateral Blade of the Elves EDH deck. This is a deck that is built for competitive commander, but is prioritized on the premise of fun than it is on the premise of winning games. And although it can most certainly do both, you're going to be doing a lot more of the former than the latter. That being said, let's go ahead and hop right into it, starting off with the face card, Athreos, God of Passage. Athreos, God of Passage, is a 5/4 legendary enchantment creature god. For 1, a white and a black, it has indestructible, meaning that any effect that says it destroys creatures, enchantments, or permanents that target it do not have an effect on the card and it stays as is. However, it can be exiled by cards such as Anguished Unmaking. As long as your devotion to white and black combined is less than 7, Athreos isn't treated as a creature, and whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. There's a lot to unpack here, as well as some hidden text that you guys may not be aware of, so let me go ahead and break it down to you bit by bit. First off, as a Theros god, there is always this very tricky aspect of the commander that is not really covered anywhere. And that is very simply the fact that it comes down as an enchantment if you don't have enough devotion to play it as a creature, which is fine, but the reason it's important is because it actually determines how early or late you can attack with it. See, if you were to cast Athreos as an enchantment, and then on a later turn, even if it's the very next turn, acquire enough devotion to animate it, after waking up, Athreos will be able to attack that turn, provided it has spent at least 1 turn on the battlefield as an enchantment, meaning that you do not need to wait a full turn to attack with it as a creature before being able to make your first attack with it. This is true of all the Theros gods. Moving on to its bottom text, whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. Once again, there is some tricky shenanigans going on with the card text that I feel I would be a little criminal not to impart knowledge-wise to you guys. First off, it does specifically say whenever another creature you own dies, meaning that you do not have to technically control it in order to get the trigger. If you're playing against Turgid, or someone happens to reanimate one of your creatures and it dies, you will still get the Athreos trigger. Furthermore, you will automatically return the card to your hand if you target an opponent with less than 3 life. So if you're draining an opponent consistently all the way down to the single digits, you point an Athreos trigger at them and they have 2 life or less, they simply have to allow you to return the card to your hand, as they cannot pay life that they do not have. Finally, one last note is that this card has an interesting interaction with the card Opal Palace, which is one of the cards we'll get to here in a second with the land base. Opal Palace is a non-basic land that can tap for a colorless, or you can pay 1 and tap it to add a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. However, if it is spent to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game, the first time counting as a single +1/+1 counter. If you are to use Opal Palace's second ability to add colored mana to your mana pool, which you then spend to cast Athreos, if it would enter the battlefield as an enchantment, when it then becomes a creature later on, it will not retain the +1/+1 counter. However, if you were to cast Athreos using the colored mana from Opal Palace, and it would enter as a creature, it will enter with the +1/+1 counters. That being said, we have now officially gone over all the sneaky bits, and now onto the deck itself. Starting off, we have the land base, and we are running 14 of both basic plains and swamps, and an additional 6 non-basic lands. The first of which is Cabal Coffers. Cabal Coffers is a non-legendary land that you can pay 2 generic mana and tap it to add a black to your mana pool for each swamp you control. The reason that this is such a great card to play in your decks is because it combos very well with another land we have in the deck, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth is a legendary land that makes each land a swamp in addition to its other land types, meaning that whenever you have both Urborg and Cabal Coffers out, you pay the 2 generic mana and tap Cabal Coffers to add a black to your mana pool for each land you control, as all your lands are swamps. Furthermore, Urborg is actually one of the best opening cards that you could possibly hope for, as you can simply play it as a swamp and tap it for a black to cast your first Shadowborn Apostle. Moving on, we also have 2 lands that are honorary copies of Cabal Coffers in Thespian Stage and Vesuva. Thespian Stage is a land that can enter untapped and can tap for either a colorless mana, or you can pay 2 generic mana and tap it to make it a copy of any target land on the battlefield except it has this ability, of course referring to the transform ability. Vesuva, on the other hand, is a strictly worse copy of Thespian Stage that enters the battlefield tapped as a copy of any land on the battlefield. The reason we run both of these lands is because, as I gone over earlier, Cabal Coffers, for some reason, is non-legendary, meaning that under an ideal Christmas Wonderland circumstance, you can have 3 copies of Cabal Coffers out at once, which I shouldn't need to tell you is insane value. Aside from that, we do run a few more non-basics that I personally enjoy, mainly being Westvale Abbey. Westvale Abbey is a non-basic land that can enter the battlefield untapped, taps for a colorless, or you can pay 5 generic mana, tap it, and pay life to create a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token, or you can pay 5, tap it, and sacrifice 5 creatures to transform Rustvale Abbey and then untap it, which transforms into Ormondal Profane Prince, which is a legendary demon with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste, and is a 9/7 body. Unfortunately, being a transformed card, it counts towards 0 devotion for your total score, but it is absolutely a demon in every sense of the word, which will be relevant for another card we get to here in a moment. The bulk of our deck is full of 28 Shadowborn Apostles, which is a 1/1 human cleric for a single black mana that we can have any number of in the deck and pay a black alongside sacrificing 6 of them to search our library for any demon creature card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle our library. This is very powerful because this means that we'll get 6 Athreos triggers, and that means an opponent is either going to lose a bunch of life or let us get some, if not most, of our Shadowborn Apostles back to our hand. One card that is admittedly a little clunky, or as I prefer to call it, awkward in this deck, is Dream Devourer. Dream Devourer is a 0/3 demon cleric for 1 and a black that allows you to foretell any card, any long-line card in your hand, provided it doesn't already have foretell. Its foretell cost is its mana cost reduced by 2. Whenever you foretell a card, Dream Devourer also gets +2/+0 until end of turn. While you absolutely won't be using this to foretell your Shadowborn Apostles, there is a fair enough amount of non-Shadowborn Apostle creatures and non-land cards in general that you would consider foretelling it for an investment of 2 mana on 1 turn for what is effectively only going to be a single mana, or maybe 2, no more than 3 or 4 at the most on a later turn. Also worth noting that the types on these creatures are very, very important, being both a demon and a cleric, as well as Shadowborn Apostles being humans and clerics, for reasons we will get into later. Moving on to the 3 drops, we have Heliod Suncrowned, which is a 5/5 legendary enchantment creature god for 2 and a white with indestructible. It is not treated as a creature unless your devotion to white is 5 or greater, and whenever you gain life, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. You can also pay 1 and a white to give another target creature lifelink until end of turn. Worth noting, it does not have to be one you control, so you can finagle your way through some politics if you so desire. Moving on, we have the cards that are simply in here for sacrifice outlets. And in most situations I have personally used them in, are fantastic removal options. The first of these is Demon's Disciple, which is a 3/1 human cleric for 2 and a black, and when Demon's Disciple enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Moving on, we have Fleshbag Marauder, which is functionally the exact same card, except it is a zombie warrior instead of a human cleric, so I guess technically strictly worse. We also have Merciless Executioner, which is once again the exact same cost for the exact same effect and stat line, only it's an orc warrior. Finally, we have Plague Crafter, which is actually slightly tougher, which is a 3/2 for 2 and a black, and when Plague Crafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, and each player who can't discards a card. Now, as you know, we have went out of our way to cover Shadowborn Apostle, and one of the heavy themes we have here is demons. Value demons, big booty demons, just in general really good demons. and one of these is Tabarak's Hope's Demise, which is a 2/2 legendary demon cleric for 2 and a black with flying. Tabarak's Hope's Demise has lifelink as long as it has 5 or more +1/+1 counters on it, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you can put a +1/+1 counter on Tabarak's. However, if that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card and lose 1 life. The reason that is so important is because, as you just saw, most of our creatures are indeed clerics in some form or another, being either human clerics, demon clerics, or even just regular old clerics. I have not personally gotten to the point where I can use Tabaraks with lifelink, but it is something that can happen. Moving on, we have Farragoth Bloodsky Sire, which is a 2/3 legendary demon rogue for 2 and a black with Death Touch and Boast. Whenever Farragoth Bloodsky Sire attacks, you can pay 1 and a black at any point after the attack to have target players search their library for a card, shuffle their library, and put that card on top without need of revealing it. This once again is great for politicking and can even help earn you favor in some rather dire circumstances. Skipping along to the next demon, we have, let me see if I can, we have Archfiend of Depravity, which is a 5/4 demon for 3 and double black with flying, and at the beginning of each opponent's instep, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest. This not only completely leaves your board well alone, but prevents the opponent from maintaining a critical board mass. Now, unfortunately, this is at the beginning of each opponent's instep, not during their upkeep, so if an opponent were to kill you with a huge board, they're likely still going to. However, if you can manage to survive just until the instep, they will have to part ways with all except their 2 best creatures. Moving on, we also have Doom Whisperer, which is a 6/6 flying trampling nightmare demon for 3 and double black that allows you to pay 2 life to surveil 2, which means you look at the top 2 cards of your library and put any number of them into your graveyard if you so desire, and put the rest on the top of your library in any order. Moving on, we also have Obnixilis the Fallen, which is a 3/3 legendary demon for 3 and double black with landfall, meaning whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target player lose 3 life, and if you do, you can put 3 +1/+1 counters on Obnixilis the Fallen. This is great because it is growing exponentially bigger each and every single time you hit your land drop, which while 34 lands is a little low on the actual mana base side of things, should be okay more times than it's not due to having an overwhelmingly low mana curve with all the 1 and 3 drops here. Furthermore, we have Ravenous Demon, which is a 4/4 demon for 3 and double black that allows you to sacrifice a human to transform Ravenous Demon, but can only be done at sorcery speed. It transforms into Archfiend of Greed, which is a 9/9 demon with flying and trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a human. If you can't, Archfiend of Greed deals 9 damage to you. And in addition, it is also tapped. Worth noting, going back to Omnixus for just a second, you actually do really like the 3 life loss there, because that is 1 additional Athreos trigger that they cannot pay for. Moving back on, we have Feaster of Fools, which is a 3/3 demon for 4 and double black. I know that you're very rightly surprised and even perhaps a little upset to see that it is a 6 mana 3/3, but fear not, it is that size for a very good reason. First off, it has Convoke, meaning your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 mana or one of that creature's color, meaning you can potentially cast this card without paying anything. It also has Flying and Devour too. As this card enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature then enters the battlefield with twice that many +1/+1 counters on it, meaning if you were to sacrifice even just one creature, it would enter the battlefield as a 5/5 flyer. If you sacrifice two, it would enter as a 7/7, 3/9/9, and so on and so forth. Worth noting that this is simply an as it enters the battlefield trigger, not on cast, meaning that you can tutor it out with your Shadowborn Apostles and still devour your lesser desired creatures in order to grow this exponentially bigger. Moving on, we have Gormand, which is a 5/5 flying trampling demon for 4 and double black. And as an additional cost to cast a spell, you sacrifice a creature. When Gormand enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Obviously, you won't usually have to worry about sacrificing a creature while casting it, because 9 times out of 10 you're tutoring for it, if that's something you choose to do, but it's worth noting all the same. Next up, we have Harvester of Souls, which is a 5/5 demon for 4 and double black. It has Death Touch, meaning any amount of damage it deals in combat or otherwise is enough to destroy the creature it fights. And whenever any other non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. This obviously applies to your opponent's creatures as well. Next up, we have one of my personal favorites, which is Ob Nixilis Unshackled, which is a 4/4 legendary flying trampling demon for 4 and double black. Whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. Whenever another creature dies, regardless of whether or not it is a token, put a +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis Unshackled. We also have Rakshasa Debaser, which is a 6/6 cat demon for 4 and double black, and when Rakshasa Debaser attacks, you put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Worth noting, since it simply puts it there, you do not have to pay its casting costs. It also has Encore for 6 double black, meaning you can exile this card from your graveyard and create a token copy of it for each opponent that attacks that opponent this turn if able, that gain haste, and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step that you can only activate at sorcery speed. Moving on now, we have Soul Flare, which is a 4/4 demon for 4 and double black with Delve, meaning each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1 generic mana. And if a creature card with flying was exiled with Soul Flare's Delve ability, Soul Flare has flying. The same is also true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Moving on, we have Reaper from the Abyss, which is a 6/6 flying demon for 3 and triple black with Morbid. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, destroy target non-demon creature. Note, it does specifically say at the beginning of each end step, not just your own. Buyer beware. Moving on to the final 2 demons we're running, we have my personal favorite demon the last 3 demons, 4 demons I should say rather, in the deck, sorry. My absolute favorite is without a doubt Lord of the Void. Lord of the Void is a 7/7 flying demon for 4 and triple black, and whenever Lord of the Void deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library, Then put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield on your control without paying its casting cost. Well, the demons in here are numerous and situational as to allow you to have a wide range of creatures with a wide range of effects for the exact situation you need. I personally like to defer to Lord of the Void when I both want a big creature as well as a very valuable effect. Moving on, we have Minion of Leshrac, which is a very dated creature all the way from Masters Edition, which is a 5/5 demon minion for 4 and triple black that has protection from black, and at the beginning of your upkeep, Minion of Leshrac deals 5 damage to you unless you sacrifice a creature other than it. If Minion of Leshrac deals damage to you this way, tap it, and then you can also tap it to destroy any target creature or land. Moving on to our penultimate demon, we have Razaketh the Foul-Blooded, which is an 8/8 flying trampling legendary demon for 5 and triple black that allows you to pay 2 life and sacrifice another creature to search your library for a card, put that card into your hand without revealing it, and shuffle your library. This would more likely be your best tutor, but I tend to go for Lord of the Void first just because I really love it. And finally, we have the most expensive demon in the game with Spirit of the Night, which is a 6/5 legendary demon spirit for 6 and triple black that has flying, trample, haste, protection from black, and first strike as long as it's attacking, which, spoiler alert, you absolutely will be. Moving on to the rest of the non-demon creatures, we have Necropotence, which is an enchantment for triple black that skips your draw step, and whenever you discard a card, you exile that card from your graveyard. Sorry, I should have said non-demon cards, not creatures. Excuse me. You can also pay 1 life to exile the top card of your library face down, and put that card into your hand at the beginning of your next end step. Worth noting, you can use this ability as many times as you want, as often as you want, even on your opponent's turn, especially in response to something like a Reclamation Sage coming down. However, those cards won't be added to your hand until your next step specifically, so do be aware. As far as creatures in the 99, Edgewalker is absolutely the most valuable, being a 2/2 human cleric for 1, a white, and a black that reduces the cost of cleric spells you cast by white and black. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay, which means that your Shadowborn Apostles are completely and entirely free to cast. Moving on, we have Heliod, God of the Sun, which is a 5/6 legendary enchantment creature god for 3 and a white with vigilance. With indestructible, and as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod is not treated as a creature. It gives other creatures you control vigilance, and you can pay 2 and double white to create a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token. Moving on, we have Erebos Bleak-Hearted, which is a 5/6 legendary enchantment creature god for 3 and a black. It has indestructible as well, and is not counted as a creature unless your devotion is 5 to black, specifically is 5 or greater. In addition, whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life to draw a card, and you can pay 1 in a black and sacrifice another creature to give target creature -2/-1 until end of turn, which also triggers its middle ability at the same time. Moving on, we have Erebos, God of the Dead, which is a 5/7 legendary enchantment creature god for 3 and a black that has indestructible. Is not counted as a creature unless your devotion to black is 5 or greater. That has a static ability similar to that of Sulfuric Vortex and prevents your opponents from gaining life. You can also pay 1 in a black and 2 life to draw a card, and you can repeat this ability as much as you like, provided you have the mana to do so, and life as well, I should add. Next up, we have what is quickly becoming one of my favorite cards of all time in Black, which is Court of Ambition. Court of Ambition is an enchantment for 2 and double black that makes you the monarch as soon as it enters the battlefield. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. However, if you're the monarch, each opponent instead loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. Worth noting that even if you're not the monarch, you still get the upkeep trigger. It's just the weaker one. Moving on, we have a somewhat tricky card with this deck, which is No Mercy, which is an enchantment for 2 and double black that very simply destroys any creature that deals damage to you. Great for fending off would-be attackers, and although can occasionally collide with your own creatures, dealing damage to you if you don't have a sack outlet, it is absolutely worth running for the minimum amount of times that will happen. Next up, we have Rite of Belsenlock, which is an enchantment saga for 2 and double black that has 2 chapters that have the same effect, creating 2/0/1 black cleric creature tokens. And for the 3rd chapter, you create a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying and trample. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you must sacrifice another creature. And if you can't, it deals 6 damage to you. However, it does stay untapped. Worth noting, Rite of Belsenlock works wonders in conjunction with Westvale Abbey, because by itself you have 80% of the creatures you need. Complementing this sacrifice outlet further, we have Grave Pact, which is an enchantment for 1 and triple black, which is an incredible devotion card, which makes each other player sacrifice a creature whenever a creature you control dies. Worth noting, it does not have to be sacrificed, but does trigger on sacrifice. Next up, we have Dictate of Erebos, which is effectively the exact same effect for 3 and double black. However, it is a flash spell, meaning you can cast it at any time you can cast an instant, unless otherwise stated by cards like Teferi Time Raveler, and has the exact same effect. This is very great when taken into consideration. You will get 6 triggers, with your Shadow Born Apostles, because that means your opponents will have to sacrifice 6 creatures, you will get a demon, and you will get 6 Athreos triggers as well. Absolutely phenomenal. Moving on, we have a alternate win condition, and a flavorful one at that, which is why we wanted to pay attention to the demon creatures with Liliana's Contract, which is an enchantment for 3 and double black, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. Immortality is truly worth any price. Moving on, we have Divinity of Pride, which is a one card animator for all the monocolored gods, and more often than not, as well as Athreos himself, which is a 4/4 spirit avatar for a white-black hybrid, white-black hybrid, white-black hybrid, white-black hybrid, white-black hybrid. Hybrid mana is a fairly tricky subject because you do not have to pay white and black for it. You may choose whether you play white or black for each instance of the hybrid mana on it. It is not treated as one or the other, it is treated as both, meaning unless there has been a sudden rule change within the past week, Divinity of the Pride can only go in Orzhov colored decks, because it is treated as both white and black, not white or black. It is a spirit avatar with flying and lifelink, and it gets +4/+4 as long as you have 25 or more life, which, needless to say, is an incredible effect in Commander. Moving on, we have Bolas's Citadel, which is effectively a strictly worse, or at times strictly better, Necropotence, which is a legendary artifact for 3 generic mana and triple black that lets you look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. However, if you cast a spell this way, you must pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. You may tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents to make each opponent lose 10 life. Furthermore, we have Dread, which is No Mercy on a Stick, being a 6/6 elemental incarnation for 3 and triple black with fear, meaning it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or creatures that share a color with it. And whenever a creature deals damage to you, it gets destroyed. Whenever Dread is put into a graveyard from anywhere, it is shuffled into its owner's library. With that being said, we have completed the deck tech and have officially gone over every card, the strategies, and combos and synergies, as well as my favorite cards within the deck. I would like to thank you all so much for watching this video, and also for being such a loyal and supportive fan base. Thank you once again for watching this video. I have been your host, Cardmaster Phoenix, signing out. See you guys next time. Have a good one.